Good morning, everyone. We are continuing here in the words of the CHOFETZ CHAIM in Klal Dovid, which is the 4th chapter, and we're talking about, we left off yesterday speaking about a Rasha. Are you allowed to say Lashon HaRa? And the CHOFETZ CHAIM said yes, as a matter of fact. When you see somebody who is muchzak, which means he goes in the wicked path, he's involved and entrenched in sins, and he doesn't leave them alone, he doesn't abandon them, and we see that he's not careful, he has no yiras Elokim, he doesn't fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you'd be allowed then to humiliate him and even speak negatively about him, things that you can't do about another Jew. Whether he's in front of you or whether he's not in front of you, you are allowed to spread this information about such a person who is a verified Rasha or a sinner, as we'll call it, in the eyes of Hashem. Now, we have to qualify this, and we will, but as Hashem, what exactly this means. But one more piece, and then we'll go back. If this person that you can say confidently, unfortunately, is a sinner, he does something or he says something, and you could, if you want, you could judge him favorably for what he did, but you could also judge him unfavorably. You can see the negative thing that he did. Says the CHOFETZ CHAIM, you need to judge him unfavorably. You should judge him on the side of bad, because once that he's already established to be a complete Rasha, a wicked person over here, Bishar and Yonav, and the other things that he relates to Torah and to mitzvahs, so then you have no obligation anymore to judge him favorably. You judge him unfavorably, and that's what you're supposed to do in such a case. There's no mitzvah to judge such a person who is muchzak, who becomes a Rasha in your eyes and the eyes of others favorably. You judge him in the unfavorable manner. Now, it must be pointed out that the poskim, the halachic authorities bring down that this is referring to a person who was raised in a frum religious home, and he was raised as a religious Jew, and he went to cheder, and he went to yeshiva, and he learned Torah, and he knows what it means to be a religious Jew. And then he decided on his own at some point in his life, he's jumping ship, and he's no longer going to be religious, and he's going to live a life of spiritual depravity, and he's going to end up sinning and doing things against HaKadosh Baruch Hu and against his Torah and against his mitzvahs. That's the person that we're describing over here is quote unquote the Rasha, and you're allowed to speak Lashon HaRa about him. We must note at this time that unfortunately we are living in a generation where the rise of what we would call children off the Derech, no longer on the pathways of Yiddishkeit, certainly not the way that they were raised in their homes. Talking about kids, the finest of kids from the finest of homes, who learn Torah, who were raised with Torah, who know what Shabbos is, who know what Kashrus is, who knows what learning Torah is all about, and davening and so on and so forth. They were raised like that, and at some point in their lifespan, whether it was, usually it takes place somewhere in the teenage years, something happens in their life that causes an eruption and some traumatic experience or the like, something difficult that they are going through, and they end up jumping ship and they go off the derech, and they're no longer keeping mitzvahs. And it has a whole spectrum of what that means. It could mean no Shabbos, no kashrus, no tefillin, no davening. It could mean intermarriage. It could mean drugs, alcohol, not keeping mitzvahs, being angry at Judaism, at Hashem. It could mean a spectrum of things. Those children, according to the poskim, according to the halachic authorities of today, they are not the Rashaim that the CHOFETZ CHAIM is referring to. They are not the ones that are willfully and knowingly going off of the Derech of Hashem. They are what we call Karav La'inus. They are close to being against their will for the reasons that they left the pathways of Yiddishkeit, and therefore Chalila, you cannot call them a Rasha, and therefore you cannot speak Lashon HaRa about such a person. You cannot go around town and say, did you see what Yankel, this person's son, was doing last night on Shabbos? We saw him walking down the street, listening to his music and smoking cigarettes. It's if people see, they see, but to go and to speak Lashon HaRa, a person should not do, because this is a struggling child. This is a child that is in pain. This is a child that has spiritual maladies and sickness, and they very often cannot control themselves in this particular situation. It's a long, complicated sugya, a understanding of what is going on, but they would not qualify over here as the Rasha that the CHOFETZ is speaking about. So we have to understand who are Rashaim actually today, and who are not, who are sinners and who are not sinners, in the way in which the CHOFETZ is saying that you can speak Lashon HaRa, because if Chalila you go around and spread rumors about a person who is unfortunately off the Derech and doing all terrible, crazy things, and you think that it's mutter to go and say that, could very well be that you are trampling on and transgressing the Issa of Lashon HaRa every time you speak negatively about that person to somebody else in public and the like. Have a wonderful day.